Good morning all, it's a lovely Saturday morning again and I'm off up to Garth Hill, but this time, in this episode, I've been curious about the Trigs. I think we all are. I think a lot of people in Builth, you see them marking off when they see them, and I'd like to introduce my guest for today, Richard Evans. Richard, you lived in Builth 30 years ago.
Grew up, born in North Road.
Yeah.
In the back bedroom of our house at North Road, yeah.
Big brother or little brother up in front, yeah, walking in.
Big brother.
Big brother.
Yeah.
Big brother, everybody would know the big brother, that's Rob Evans, Rob Niblets. But why Richard is with me today, a couple of weeks ago I was chatting away about the Trig and stuff like that, and he stopped and he said, I know the man you need to talk to. Richard, you worked in Ordnance Survey for 48 years.
48 years surveyor with Ordnance Survey, yeah.
Yes, man and boy. Yeah. So you can imagine, I desperately want to speak to this man to learn all about Mr Trig on top of Garth Hill. So, I'll see you in a minute up on top of Garth Hill. Well, thank you, Rich. We'll have a great chat now. Cheers, thank you. Right, so here we are back, we're still on Newry Road, and I've still got Richard.
Getting wet.
Getting wet. Yeah. This is proof I do walk up here sometimes in the wet, Richard. Yeah. So, as I was walking at the beginning of Newry Road, Richard told me some information that I certainly didn't know about Garth. Can you just explain to me again, Richard, what you were talking about the firing range?
Oh yeah, going up from the back of the Newry cottages and that, going up the hill, the militia used to have a firing range there years ago. This would be back in Victorian times. The target was at the foot of Garth Hill on a raised mound, and if you look on the old maps you'll see the firing positions, the 600, 500, 400, 300, 200 firing positions that they used to aim at the target, and that's going back a long way now. The militia, I mean, they were disbanded I think before the First World War.
The Boer War then, really?
Yeah, it's going back quite a long way. But most towns used to have a firing range where the local militia would
That was before even a firing range up on the...
Yeah,
up on Epplins.
Yes. Yeah, long before that, yeah.
Thank goodness they should stop that then.
It'd be interesting actually, because as you walk up to Garth Hill, halfway along the path up to the pillar, there used to be a flagstaff where they would hoist the red flag, and then there was another flagstaff halfway down the hill, sloping down towards Builth, where they put another flag up. So when they were training and firing, they used to hoist the red flags there.
Well,
a bit like they do on the range at the moment.
Yeah, well, for me, right, this is why I enjoy having these chats on these blogs, because you find out this information, and now the whole of Builth will know this. They'll all be looking at the maps.
I don't know who the Builth militia were, man. I don't know who
There's probably still some relatives around.
There's probably something like the North Brackenshire militia or something.
But that we can find out, can't we?
Well, you could find that out.
Get in touch. Yeah. Right, we should check back in, Richard, again. We've got to get going, because we're not even halfway up today. We've done an awful lot of catching up here. See you in a minute. Was it 48 years, man and boy, with...
48 years with surveying with the... Yeah.
Wow.
Well, it's good. I mean, it's such a brilliant job.
Well, for me, right, I'd be saying hello to the Mr Trig, as I call him, for 231 when we get to the top. And around Builth, I know there are people that like to mark off when they do these trigs.
Oh yeah, trig
spotting. It's nice, it's lovely now to have what I would call an expert on Mr Trig, or Trigs.
Well, I know some bloke's got 6,000 of them he's been.
Oh wow, that's
well, I suppose if you've got nothing better to
do. They would have a wander around. So, in a brief then, where did the Trigs start then? What was their thought behind it, you know?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's all to do with geography and mathematics. Yeah. If you've got a triangle, you know the angles within the triangle should add up to 180.
Yeah.
And as long as you've got one measured length of the triangle, one side's been measured, once you've got that perfect triangle, then you can set other triangles off from it, using the base or the sides of the original triangle as bases for the next series of triangles. And doing that, they started in the south of England and they progressed all the way through the country up to Scotland and the north. Over 6,500 trig points altogether.
In the UK, yeah?
Yeah. Gradually getting less because they're all redundant now.
Yeah, but
the whole point was to have a series of control points And then you could break those big triangles down into smaller triangles.
Yes.
Break the smaller triangles into even smaller triangles, which is what the pillar is on Garth Hill.
Yeah.
And then from that you start your mapping, because you've got a whole series of control points made. You could take off from those and work from those.
So for the trig then, oh, I'm going to get caught. Come back here a bit, sorry. For the trig, come back here. For the trig,
yeah.
But during the heyday there would be maintenance, and we'd make sure people got up to them.
Yeah, I did a lot of trig maintenance in the Black Mountains.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they get eroded at the base, that's the main problem. People go up there, or the animals go up there and rub against them.
Yeah.
The base of the pillar gets eroded, and if you're not careful, it'll topple over.
Oh, okay.
So we used to have to go up in the summertime with... It was hard work, because we used to have to carry
All the
sand, the cement, all the gravel, the water, everything up on your backs, up onto these hills, and repair the bases.
It is.
Put some nice turf.
You'll see when you go up there.
Yeah, this is probably because
you'll see
up there 200 odd times.
Why haven't I been doing it? But what we'll have, you got your brother in the hardware who could advise. And yourself who can say, look, you need to do this, you need to do that.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not done anymore, and progressively the number of pillars is getting less and less.
Because they need the maintenance. If you've got beauty spots around where the people look after them, it's like the old telephone boxes, isn't it?
That's right, some people adopt them.
Yeah.
They adopt the pillars. And they...
I think you said the wrong thing. My partner will be watching this. Oh God, don't give him ideas.
Well, I know that some of them, they put their ashes in. There are some sighting tubes that are in the side, and they've had their ashes put, and they've had a little plaque screwed onto the side. You know, rest in peace, Fred Bloggs.
That's like an
adopt this place.
Adopt the trig. Anyway, we better get on, because you know you want to get up to the trig and see what we do.
Oh, I can't wait.
Have you missed the trigs?
No. No.
Okay.
It's so wet and miserable up with some of these trigs over there.
All right, well hopefully it'll stop raining on us now, Richard. Right. Okay. So yeah, I'm back again with Richard. It may be a bit windy. It does get like that sometimes up here, but you must be well used to that. Yeah. So we're coming up what I call the halfway point up to the trig. Now you've been telling me that about the adoption stuff, but you also know of people decorating them as well, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, now that the trig pillars are all redundant, a lot of people have adopted them, and they've painted them. They've painted all sorts of things on them, and the best one I've ever seen, they've painted it to resemble a minion from the cartoon characters. They've painted it yellow and blue, the blue dungarees, and it looks really good.
Do you know something? Do you know something, Richard? Well, I'm thinking about it, but now I've got you here as the expert, and Bro has disappeared way off the front. He's put the gallop on because he's fed up with us talking all the time. We got two experts now. We got Mr Niblets, Rob.
Alright.
Screwdrivers.
Oh, yeah.
You can get advice what we use to it. Yeah. That you could do that. But you could tell me at the top now what does need to be done.
Alright, I'm not bloody well do it though. I've done enough of that.
Yeah, you don't have to do it. You could be my advisor on the trick.
And you could carry all the stuff.
Because you've done that enough times.
Yeah.
Right, you better get a move on, Richard.
Okay.
Stay up the top. So, yeah, back again, and I got a question for you. I was walking on here with you. Is there a hierarchy of trigs?
There is a hierarchy of trigs. Yeah. There's primary trigs, which are used in the initial triangulation.
Yeah.
There's secondary trigs, which are used to break down the big triangle. And then there's a third level, tertiary trigs, which break the secondary ones down even more. And the pillar up on Garth is a tertiary trig.
A tertiary trig. I got a name,
level.
tertiary.
Tertiary, yeah, third level of triangulation. The nearest primary trig to here that I can think of is up on Dragon Fawr, up above Abergwest.
Would they be taller? Or
no, they'd be the same thing. Yeah, they'd be the same thing, but they would be observing long triangles. You know, they'd be observing from Dragon, they'd be looking up to Cadair Idris, Penavan. They could be 30 or 40 miles away, the things that they were looking up to.
Yeah.
All done at night. And sometimes they'd be up on the pillars for 20, 30 days before they could complete all the observations all the way around. I mean, it was a pretty difficult job, actually. Yeah. And of course, they had to measure a baseline. It's all to do with triangulation and geometry, and once you know angles, and once you've got a baseline. Now, the first baseline they did was in 1780 something or other, where they had to measure a line, and they went across Hounslow Heath, which is where Heathrow Airport is at the moment. Now, they couldn't decide how they were going to measure this line. They couldn't use metal instruments or metal measuring devices because it expands and contracts in the sun. So they decided that they would use glass rods. So they had glass rods about 17 feet long, an inch in diameter, obviously very fragile, so they encased them in a long, narrow wooden crate. And they had about an inch of the glass rod sticking out at each end. So they had several of these. So they measured the distance, I'm not sure how many miles it was, across Hounslow Heath. They had to keep it all perfectly level. So they take one glass rod, put it in front of that glass rod, and then take one from the back, put it in front. And doing that, they measured the baseline for the first triangle.
The first triangle,
for the first triangle,
trig. Yes.
So they could then set an instrument up at one end of the baseline, set an instrument up at the other end of the baseline.
So it's spread,
and then they can pick up a third point that's common to both. So you've got a third point. So you know the angles on the inside of the triangle. Go to the third point, measure it back. And once you've got all the angles and a baseline, you use your mathematics, then you can go on and measure your way up the country.
And that's how it's spread?
That's how it's spread,
oh.
Yeah.
So we'll carry on walking up here now. And we'll have a good look at, what's this trig called?
Tertiary trig.
Tertiary trig.
Level trig.
So our next time you'll see us now, and I know Rich is really excited about seeing this trig. He can't wait to hear it. Tertiary, yeah. So we will carry on now, and the next time you'll see us will be at the summit of Garth Hill with the tertiary trig. Yeah, thank you.
Number T030, I think it is.
Oh wow, that's impressive. Right, see you in a minute. You can see we're just about to join your brother and your wife, Meg. Yeah, at the top there. But before, you were telling me earlier about that design of trig, which is called
Hoteen design.
Hoteen design. Yeah. It's named after a major, yeah?
No, Brigadier.
Brigadier. Oh,
Brigadier Hoteen.
Yeah.
Who was in charge of the ordnance surveys, levelling and triangulation in 1935. That was put there in 1935. 35? 35, yeah. Oh, God. Yeah. That's when the second triangulation started. Finished in 1962.
So it's Brigadier
Hoteen,
and it's called a
Hoteen type pillar.
Hoteen type
in Scotland, you've got lots of round pillars.
Yes.
And those are called Vanessas.
We're not sure.
We don't know where that is. But
if you know, please get in contact with us.
But yeah, Vanessas, because they didn't require so much stone, so much cement, so much hardcore to build, because all of this had to be hoisted up.
Yes, and built on site.
Yeah. Built on site. Yeah.
One last question for you: is when do they all end? The trigs? When do they finish?
I can't give an exact date for that. Once we started using GNSS and GPS, we've got 100. Well, we've got in the OS, but the OS have got 129 ground stations now, which are like a tripod with a big circular dish on it. And that 129 stations does the work of the 6,500 odd trig pillars that were years ago. Some pillars, some hills, they haven't got a pillar, they've got a buried block. The block is actually buried.
So you wouldn't see it then?
You wouldn't see anything, no.
Okay.
And some are made of natural stone. If the landowner wanted it to be made of natural stone, they would do that.
Okay.
They make it
So we march on to say hello to the Brigadier? We carry on going up here. Well, listen, now as we get up here higher now, it's going to get a little bit windier. Thank you very, very much for your time today. I found it very, very interesting. If I could have recorded all the other history bits you had around Builth, I would have. But perhaps we'll do that another day, won't we? Yes, I'd love to do that. So, as we approach here, we're looking at the Brigadier. I'm going to call it the Brigadier now. Just remind people again, Brigadier
Hoteen.
Brigadier, as we approach Brigadier Hoteen, and I will say to you, Rob, congratulations, 50 years of marriage. Yes, it needs to be mentioned. And hello, Meg. I'm sorry I didn't have a chance to say hello to you. Your husband's been a great help to me this morning. So, as we come up to the old Brigadier here, I want to say to you, Richard, thank you very much. It does need a bit of work. Yeah, but thank you very much.
That's all right.
Yeah. And you enjoy your stay this weekend.
Yeah, right, now in the middle there should be a brass pillar cap that's screwed into that. That's obviously been taken and they've refilled it with whatever that might be. That bit there, that brass piece going around there, that's called the spider. And the theodolite, but in the Ordnance Survey we never call them theodolites, we call them a fiddle. It's always known as a fiddle. The fiddle would have 3 pointy bits on the foot of it, and they would fit into that. And once they fitted into that, you knew that the instrument was central over the bolts that are in the bottom of the ground down there. All right, underneath this pillar, there are 2 brass bolts underneath there. When they built it, the first thing they had to do was dig down to bedrock at the bottom. Sometimes they had to dig down 15 odd feet to find the bedrock. And on the bedrock they would build a little, about 18 inches square cube of cement, and inside that they would put a brass bolt with about 3 inches diameter brass bolt. So that is the actual trig point. Then they would build up from that, and they put another brass bolt on the bottom of this pillar. The foundations of this pillar should be about 3 feet deep. That concrete block there should go down 3 feet or so. Those sighting tubes, those are called sighting tubes down
So
there.
how long would it have taken them to build?
Quite a time, really. You know, they've got to bring all the material up. If it was in a remote area, they would ask the local farmer if he could supply pack horses so that they could bring stuff up on the pack horse. This one would be easy, really, because it's a nice little route, isn't it?
I imagine being up on Penavan or
Penavan, yeah, or Dragonvow,
or Snowdon, or
they could get the pack horses perhaps so far, but then they'd have to carry it on their backs.
Yeah.
So you would have the big shutter boards to make the form of it. You'd have all the concrete, cement.
So they were always saying there might be relatives down in Builth Wells down there. Yeah. They got pictures of their granddad and granny perhaps. Bringing up rocks.
Maybe.
Hey, they could be even buried bits of the castle in that.
Well, possible, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, I'm not happy about it.
These brass hoops here, they'll lay the instrument down because they'd be up here. Sometimes they were up on these pretty days before they could complete all the. I mean, if you imagine you're trying to observe onto a hill way over there. They did it at night, always done at night, so you'd have to have 2 light keepers on the hill over there, put a lamp on top of the pillar that he would observe onto, but there would be a whole array of them all the way around, all with the light keepers, all displaying, pointing the lights at this particular pillar that he would be observing. But of course, it's clear here, but that site over there now, look, the rain's coming in, so he wouldn't be able to complete it, so he might be up here for days before he managed to complete the observations. The observations would take hours and hours because you had to do it several times, lots of times, all the way around. Face left, face right. You turn the telescope around, do it again the other way around. So it was quite and all
weather job then.
Yeah, and all the calculations and that would take a long time to do because they didn't have computers like we've got now to do it quickly.
So it's brought back some memories for you up there.
Well, up to a point, yeah. Up to a point.
Well,
I thought I got away from all of it.
Until I had tried out that. When Robert Nibbler said to me, "I've got a brother that knows all about trigs," I said, "You need to phone him."
There should be a flush bracket on here. Is there a flush bracket on, sir?
It might be around here. So look here.
There we are. That's the flush bracket. There's one on Builth Church.
Okay.
On foot of the tower of Builth Church. To those little things there, a little bracket fits into that, and on that bracket you put the levelling staff, the levelling pole. So when they levelled up to here, that's got a unique number. They would have the level to that point there.
Okay.
Okay. Those are sight holes. Normally they're closed off with a bit of newspaper and a little bit of cement over them, but there's 4 of those, and in theory you should be able to see another brass pillar, another brass rivet rather, in the bottom with those 4 across. 14 pillar. That's to tie the thing on. Yeah. So they, because they've been up here in quite stormy weather sometimes, tie it on, and normally they'd set up a little camp around the. Because I say they could be up here for days. They set up a little camp,
Well, I guess probably see if we get the metal detector up here, see what we can find. Okay.
That one's not in bad condition, really.
Yeah, well, it needs a bit of work.
We'll
get up there. I've got a plan to sand it down with the brother there, who's volunteered.
What a painter.
Yeah.
You still haven't done it.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll take advice on that one, but. Again, thank you very much.
Right.
Yeah, brought back some memories.
But as I say, it's they would be observed quite a long way from here. It would be quite a job. You can see the range up here. We had to go and survey all that. far people on the range. Yeah.